Hi, this is Anthony. Welcome back to my show. As always, before I begin, please click the subscribe button below. It really helps me out and it doesn't cost you anything. Thanks so much. On this channel, I normally talk about finance, stock investing, and sometimes side hustles, but occasionally I do a movie review, and that's what I'm going to do today for 3 programs. These are the 3 that I'm going to look at today, and I want to keep this short. Tesla, El Camino, and Dexter New Blood. Tesla is a theatrical film that came out in 2020, starring Ethan Hawke. Nikola Tesla was a Serb born in the Austrian Empire, in what is now Croatia, and eventually moved to the United States. He was a brilliant inventor and responsible for the use of alternating currents in electricity. But he was also a difficult man who, while he made quite a bit of money in the United States, his fortune eventually evaporated, and in his later years he had to move from hotel to hotel, leaving unpaid bills behind, until dying in obscurity in 1943. Ethan Hawke plays him brilliantly, but again Tesla, the man, seemed to be brilliant, eccentric, and socially awkward. The movie, on the other hand, is not brilliant, although it's eccentric and socially awkward. When people see this DVD on the shelf at their local library, just as I did, one might think that they would be getting 2 hours of generally factual information about this inventor. However, there are all kinds of fabricated scenes. 19th century characters in the movie are using the internet and Googling things and breaking the fourth wall. There are scenes where Tesla and women are roller skating inside a large room that looks like a Gilded Age salon. There's a scene where he and his one-time employer, Thomas Edison, get into a semi-comedic boardroom fight where they start squishing ice cream cones into each other's faces. And then there's the karaoke scene, which is perhaps the most bewildering part of the movie. It's unfortunate that instead of a movie with a cast of great actors and a fairly interesting story, which touches upon so much of what modern people do every day, that is, using electricity, that the project has been reduced to perhaps the worst theatrical film of 2020. The movie sold less than $500,000 in tickets throughout the world, and I wonder how many of those people walked out of the theater early or demanded their money back afterwards. This is the type of movie that if it was shown in a prison, it would instigate a riot by the prisoners and a lawsuit against the warden by the ACLU. And you couldn't show it to prisoners of war because it would no doubt violate some aspects of their rights under the Geneva Conventions. If you're going to watch this movie with a group of friends, be sure to do so only as some type of drinking game, where you take a sip of beer every time something silly happens for no good reason. On a scale of 0 to 10, on a day when I'm feeling charitable, I might give this a 3, but honestly it might warrant an even lower score. If you're interested in something more factual and entertaining, PBS had a program called War of the Currents, and in 2017 there was a theatrical movie called The Current War. Both of those are far superior in every way to Tesla, the movie. The next film that I want to look at is El Camino, which I watched last night. It's subtitled a Breaking Bad movie, and while I saw a number of seasons of Breaking Bad, I didn't see much of the last few. So I understand that this movie takes off from the finale of that series, and even though I don't know who all the characters or loose ends are, a good movie should provide enough flashbacks and context for the viewer to have some understanding of how the plot is progressing. This movie does that, so the viewer is not necessarily confused about the strands of the subplots being woven together. If you're a fan of Breaking Bad, you might find some enjoyment from this 2-hour feature, but it's really not any better than 2 random mediocre episodes. There's nothing in the movie where the viewer says, wow, they really wrapped that up. You don't come away with feeling like you've seen a minor cinematic masterpiece. The acting is quite respectable, but the people are portraying a various assortment of drug dealers and losers and quirky people on the edge of society. These are not well-rounded, intriguing characters. I'm not sure that after 2 hours of viewing this, that you'll feel like your life is improved, or that you've learned anything, or grown as a person, or have even been entertained any more than watching random videos on YouTube. But again, it's not a complete waste of time like watching Tesla would be. I give this film 6 out of 10. Lastly is Dexter New Blood, and again I'm going to give some spoilers here. 10 years after Dexter's supposed death in a hurricane, we find him in upstate New York, in the heart of winter, where there's a thick layer of snow on the ground, except for when there's not. Very brief thumbnail sketch of some of the plot holes. Local bad boy Matt Caldwell kills a sacred white deer on local Native American tribal land, which is witnessed by Dexter. They get into a fight, and Dexter ends up killing Matt, and this is because Matt had intentionally killed 5 people in a boating accident years before, not just because he killed a white deer. Dexter buries Matt's remains on his property, but then the police are looking for Matt, and Dexter realizes that when they bring in tracking dogs, that they'll locate the body under his fire pit. So Dexter takes the remains to a local incinerator, which seems to be open and available to the public, and is often, but not always, burning things. Dexter puts the remains in the incinerator, thinking that all the remains will be consumed by the flames. However, Matt had 4 titanium screws in his leg due to the boating accident, which killed the 5 people, and eventually Matt's father, Kurt, discovers the 4 titanium screws in the incinerator on a day when it's not in operation. It turns out that Kurt has, for a couple decades, been the local serial killer responsible for the disappearances of many local women, as well as transients. The first victim is eventually found in a cave, and DNA points to a member of Kurt's family being responsible for the killing. Kurt is arrested, but then points out that the last time he saw that girl, his father was chasing after her, so it was his father who killed the woman, he argues, so the police just let him go. Then Kurt arranges to have one of the titanium screws given to Dexter. Dexter realizes this must be a titanium screw from his most recent victim, Matt, and keeps it in his house. Once Dexter realizes that Kurt is a serial killer, he and his reunited son go to Kurt's property, while Kurt coincidentally goes to Dexter's and burns down the house, knowing that the investigators will eventually find the 1 titanium screw in Dexter's possession. Kurt then sends the police chief the other 3 titanium screws with a message that Dexter is the killer of Matt. By the way, you'll find out quickly that the police chief is dating Dexter. So the police chief arrests Dexter based on the note and 3 titanium screws, which are traced back to Matt based on the serial numbers. Now, of course, Dexter did kill Matt and disposed of his body in the incinerator. However, nobody in the production realizes the inconvenient fact that even if Dexter was a serial killer, why would he have only 1 of the screws, and who ended up with the other 3, which were then sent with a note to the police chief? And since the fire at Dexter's cabin was ruled by the police as arson, why didn't Dexter just say, "Whoever burned down my cabin is the real killer," and put the 1 screw in the ashes for the police to find, while sending the other 3 to the police chief? Nobody ever thinks about this, and that's the blatant flaw in the series. Now, there's a lot of other things that are logical or plot issues. For instance, there are infrared cameras which catch Matt and Dexter out in the woods on the day that the deer was killed. But then Dexter has to go out into that area again with Matt's clothing and run around in all different directions to throw the dogs off the scent. Why wasn't that captured on video and reviewed by investigators? Now, even though there's some negatives, if you watch Dexter, you know what to expect. So I don't want to dissuade you from watching the series. If you're a fan, it's well worth watching. And I'd give it at least an 8 or 9 out of 10. Okay, that's all for today, but please leave your thoughts in the comments section below if you've seen any of these 3. Again, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel, and if you like the video, hopefully you'll watch some others and like those too. Comments, either pro or con, are always welcome, and since this channel is not yet monetized, if you want to help me out, I sell small collectibles on eBay, things like old stock and bond certificates, coins and banknotes, stamps and postal items, and books, along with other things such as Masonic items. If you're interested in buying coins as collectibles or investments, silver coins in particular, I usually have some listed, and if you're interested in investing in gold or silver as a commodity, I have a few YouTube videos on those that explain how you can easily do that, plus some of the pitfalls in doing so. You can find my items on eBay with my username stock_tycoon. Thanks for watching and good luck in investing.